Hello, everyone, and welcome to Harvesting Innovation, a podcast run by Biotope. Biotope is a biotech incubator program and pre-seed investor backed by VIB, one of the world's premier life sciences institutes located in Belgium. Our mission at Biotope is to help startups like yours take root. Twice a year, we organize a base camp for biotech startup founders, and we offer year-round support to a selected few. Our program has one major goal in mind: get your startup ready for seed funding. In our podcast series, we dive deeper into some of the specific challenges faced by biotech startups in agri-food, and we do so with founders, investors, and seasoned entrepreneurs. We hope that these conversations will inspire you. I am Anne, startup coach at Biotope, and today we will talk about mentoring. We do so with Aurélie Nowack from VBio Venture and Giacomo Bastianalli, entrepreneur in residence at VIB. Welcome both.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
Happy to be here.
Thank you. So, setting the scene a little bit in the workplace, in schools, in universities, in personal lives at time of transitions, mentorship matters. Some of the most successful entrepreneurs in the world credit their mentors for having actively contributed to their success. But particularly for startup, mentorship can have very crucial impact. Notoriously, the first years in a startup life are the most precarious. Finding the right mentors at the right time can help navigate early challenges and increase their chances of success. Aurélie, you're a principal at a VC fund that sees a lot of young, innovative startup companies. And Giacomo, you have founded and grown life sciences startup. Both of you are now part of our Biotope mentor network. And can I please ask you to start by introducing yourself? Aurélie, do you want to go first?
Yes, I'm Aurélie Nowack. I have a background in life sciences, a PhD in genetics, but currently I work in a VC fund in Belgium, VBio Ventures, and we invest in early stage biotech companies.
Thank you, Giacomo.
Giacomo Bastianalli, also background in life sciences, in bioinformatics and protein engineering, and currently I'm an entrepreneur in residence at VIB on a new project. Happy to be here.
Yeah, thank you both. I'm looking forward to hear your respective perspectives on today's topic. And after this brief introduction, maybe we can dive deeper into, your personal career story and how this brought you to mentorship. How did you grow into this, and how do you approach this? Aurélie, do you want to start?
Happy to. So I've spent the past 15 years at the intersection between academia and industry. So in a tech transfer office at VIB, doing business development, where you work very closely then with with innovators and you valorize the research. But I've also worked in a larger corporate doing technology acquisition, so scouting for technologies. Now I'm with VBio Ventures, so a VC fund that invests in early stage biotech companies. We work a lot with entrepreneurs. I see in the team at VBio, I see how much knowledge and experience there is, and I see how this is being shared in the team and shared with entrepreneurs. And this is what I want to do as a mentor as well to the Biotope entrepreneurs and share the experience that I've built up. It's experience, knowledge, but it's based also on mistakes, and this is something I'm happy to share with entrepreneurs.
Mm-hmm. So do you see that in your current role, everybody within VBio is, already providing some form of mentorships to startups in your network?
It's not labeled as such, but yes, there's so much experience that is being shared within the team and to entrepreneurs. Yeah.
Thank you, Giacomo. I turn to you. Could you please also explain, what your personal story is, and also what, maybe resonates in what Aurélie mentioned? What do you see differently?
Yeah, so maybe I'll say also why, you want to be a mentor. And sometimes I look back and I think, I wish I had more mentors. Mm-hmm. back in the days, because I think what is valuable for a mentor is besides providing, industry expertise and knowledge, but also for an entrepreneur, avoiding making mistakes. Because, when you start and you go, and I've been doing this for the last 15 years. So I started, as a scientist, and then I worked in the VC for a couple of years. Then I started a company with them, and then I managed other companies. And built other companies, tech in the field of tech at the same time. And you realize how much important the input of experienced people are. And just I wish I had more. So I like being a mentor because I can provide young entrepreneurs with suggestions on mistakes not to make because I made them. So
building on experience.
Right. Correct.
Yes. Well, I think you already touched on my next question. Actually, I meant to ask if you had or if you have mentors, and if you can illustrate a bit how this influenced your professional or personal path to, at different stages until now?
Yeah, I said just before that I wish I had more mentors. So I had a couple of mentors during my university time. So I was very active and trying to escape from Italy, going abroad and studying because I was a little bit fed up a non-meritocratic system of the Italian academia. So I had a couple of mentors that pushed me to think about outside the box and see how I could go abroad. And they were really helpful for that, to give me the right input. And then I had two mentors, well, I would say three mentors during my time when I started working with the VC and building my first company, Mayogenics, and also managing two other companies. They were chairmen of the board, but I was like 29, the first company, 29. And so I was very unexperienced. And so the venture capital put senior professionals and executives next to me to work not just a chairman, but also to spend a little bit more time with me to coach me. Mm-hmm. So to be a mentor slash a coach. Now and we can go into the details what's the difference, those were very helpful. I learned a lot from them. Actually, one of them was also a former managing director of the VAB. So for me, it's been critical, those advices. And I wish I had even more before.
And if I may ask, was this, explicitly a mentorship? Like, did you refer to them as your mentors? Do you keep in touch with them now? Or how do you see this, relationship? How explicit would you see this? Was this all organic, or did you ask someone, can you please be a mentor for me?
That's a very good question, because it was more organic. There was no definition. I'm a mentor of Giacomo, or they were around close to me. They were also brought by the investor to bring me to a certain level. But they were not formal. I think right now, compared to maybe 20 years ago, there's much more of mentorship programs. Maybe also the online world opened up this dimension. So that's why I wished I had more and in a more formal way. But I think today there's the opportunity to give more mentorship to young entrepreneurs, which I think is super valuable.
Thank you. Aurélie, turning to you. Yeah, what is your take on this?
Yes, I did have mentors, but in academia or in a larger organization, it's easy to find someone, and it does happen organically that, you have a sticky point, you find someone to discuss it with. But in hindsight, similar to you, Giacomo, I wish I would have taken the time to ask, hey, would you be my mentor? Because then it's also, it doesn't take too much of their time, but it takes a certain time and commitment. And if it's formalized, you can more easily ask to take that time and to discuss things which have nothing to do with their job. You're not their direct reports, or it's something they do extra. So in hindsight, I wish I would have labeled it as such.
And what is your experience there? As in, now, do you have people coming to you and openly asking, would you want to be a mentor for my company, my position? I need to grow in this particular space.
Yes, but within maybe programs, like
Yes.
Biotope or maybe Techstars or other funds or venture studios. So that happened. But maybe more advisor to companies. For
Yes.
example, entrepreneurs will be, would you be interested to be one of our company advisor? But advisor is not exactly the mentor,
No.
because advisor is more on the business part, while mentor it touch the human side of the person. And I think that is even more important for an entrepreneur. Advisors, you can find advisors. Good mentors that you need to build an empathic relationship with the entrepreneur, with the person, that's more difficult.
I've had people come to me now asking similar questions that I've asked mentors myself, and who come to me with those questions now, and they would be very well served with a mentor, just like you're providing your entrepreneurs.
Okay. Allow me to switch gears a little bit. I would like to talk about the challenges and the opportunities that are specifics to biotech startups in agriculture and food. This is what we have in our current startup portfolio and ecosystem. So, Giacomo, could I ask you, so in your view, what are some unique challenges that biotech startups in the agri-food space face, and how do you help them address that as a mentor?
Yes, so I would say one probably right now, and it's going to be even worse in a couple of years, access to capital. In a startup, you say cash is king. If you have cash, you can pivot. If you have cash, you can change even completely your company and adapt. So I think it's hard right now, and it's going to be harder. But I would like to get also Aurélie's input on this. It's going to be harder in 2 or 3 years from now. So on that regards, I think you need to tell the entrepreneur to be creative, meaning that you need to think outside the box, both from a fundraising perspective, how you do the fundraising, who could be your investor. Maybe VC is not. Maybe you could look for other type of investors, strategic investors, industry partners. Think about how you can generate some revenues that can provide you survival if things go wrong. So a little bit thinking outside the box when you need to think about access to capital, and don't think that VC is the only way to go. Another aspect, I think, in the agri-food, but in the agriculture especially, looking back at what I was doing with Mayogenics, is the regulatory aspects. So I think there is a big, which, for example, gene-edited crops, right? We are seeing what's happening in Europe. And I think there is a big disconnect between, it's more related to the perception of the value of food, and therefore agriculture is the just upstream of what people consume, is the value of food. I believe that in the last century, we have lost connection as humans, because the supply chain and all the distribution, people that in the States, some people, they have never seen a live chicken, or they don't know where that plant that they buy, or maybe it's processed vegetables, how it looks like in reality. And so that means that they have no idea how much efforts goes into the production of food. And therefore, they don't understand the value of that. And when they go to the supermarket, they say, oh my God, these tomatoes are so expensive. No, it's not possible. I'm not going to buy. Or no, the food has to be nutritious, high quality, safe, and cheap. So I think that is the challenge. And I think it's that then from that problem, you have lots of aspects. And I think the gene editing discussions is one of those aspects. We're not good enough at predicting what's what might come in the future, the challenges, and the whole value perception. I think I would point on that, but maybe early you have some other challenges.
I think it's a very interesting perspective, but also I think as a startup in that space, it's both a challenge and you can see it as an opportunity as well, of course, because there's now this whole indeed disconnection maybe and the need to reinvent, reevaluate our food system, our agricultural system, and maybe that's also a good time to, be creative, as you were pointing to, and explain how your solution is going to fit into this picture. But a good segue to, hearing your point from more an investor point of view, essentially.
I see similar challenges as well. And I think this is also where we can help as mentors. So like you said, access to capital is key, and venture capital, that's one way of getting funding. And if that's the way they want to go, then we can definitely, mentors can help them make sure they have the right business model to be attractive to venture capital. We can also help them de-risking their technologies as mentors. Often the companies will want to partner as soon as they see a company is slightly interested, jump into the partnerships. But it's sometimes important to have a mentor to discuss this with, and make sure you don't give everything away, that you still remain attractive to other players in the industry. Then other challenges you've identified, regulatory is an important one for agri-food as well. That's what we see as well. And it's important they get the proper guidance there. So you mentioned gene editing and the unknown regulatory space, but if it's novel food, if it's biopesticides, it's also a regulatory landscapes where not many people have navigated that before them. So that's a big challenge as well for entrepreneurs in that space. And you mentioned it as well already, the behavior of the consumers that is changing. That's also a certain market risk that they have to take into account. And the more people they can get feedback with, the better.
Yeah, maybe if I can add something, on the behavior of consumer. I think in the last, I would say, a few years, we have seen how people are becoming more conscious about what they eat and the importance of what they eat and the impact on health. Unfortunately, because the impact on health is going to be on the long term, again, you have that value disconnect. People would rather invest in buying a new tech gadget, which they already have, but you just want a new version, that investing a little bit in better food that will have an impact that is not observable right now. A new gadget, you can show it, you can feel happy about it because you have it right now. But a better health by eating better food or being more conscious about what you eat is gonna come later. And this is, I think, it's a human behavior problem that we experience with climate, for example. So I think there is a problem, but also I think an opportunity for startups to position themselves into this new trend where consumers want more quality and want a food that will help them to live longer.
If I'm hearing both of you correctly, what you're saying is, startup, it's a difficult investment climate and regulatory climate for startups in this space at the moment, but you as mentors can help them take a step back and maybe look at the bigger picture and put themselves in this perspective of how they can impact on the long term, more societal problems and food climate. Really putting themselves in this bigger picture, which they might, I think, as an entrepreneur, at a very given moment, it's difficult to take the time to have this reflection. You have a lot of urgent problems to solve. How are you gonna get enough money to advance your technology, to pay your employees, to grow your company, and maybe as mentors, it's nice if you can help them.
We ask a lot of
Yes,
we ask a lot of questions to the mentees, so that they provide the answers themselves, but that they think about do I have something that the consumers will want?
Yeah. Nice. I was thinking maybe one of you, could you share any specific experience or any insight that have shaped your approach to mentorship? Like, I don't know, if you have an anecdote or some, a concrete instance to share.
Yeah, I can share some insights there as well. To me, I've seen different approaches to mentoring, and the more the mentee is open towards their vision for the company and also the challenges that they face and where they see their weaknesses, the better the mentorship can be. Mm-hmm. If it's going to look like too much that they only want to come for advice, then it's not a mentor-mentee relationship. But you have to build that relationship,
yes.
And it's important that the entrepreneur shares their vision and their frustrations, and only then can you ask them the right questions to provide them with the right guidance.
And could you elaborate on what you were mentioning now, this mentor-mentee relationship, like how you see it evolving, and in a sense, what reward you find in that? How do you?
Yeah, it's very rewarding for the mentor as well. I think you alluded to that as well already. You're happy to share the knowledge that you've had because you can prevent them from doing the same mistakes that you did. But I think it also helps to be a better leader, or you're better at guiding others. And it's also a part of our job as well. When we work with entrepreneurs, when we invest, we also have to provide some guidance. It also helps being better at the job that we do. So it is very motivating.
Giacomo, specifically, maybe you can comment on how you already said, I want them to avoid making the same mistakes as I did, maybe. Yeah. How do you leverage your own experience as a founder for your mentees?
So maybe to go back to what Aurélie mentioned about the relationship, it's really important that you create a two-way, very honest and transparent thing. I'm not an advisor. I'm not just here just to give you business advice. I'm here to help you in a journey that goes beyond this is a business. It's, startups or companies is a people business. When you're looking at success of companies, for me is like in real estate is LLL, location, location, location. In startups is 3P, people, people, and people. So I've seen companies succeeding with bad technology. I've seen companies with great technology failing because people, because management, because the way they led the company. So just to go back to the importance of the relationship with the mentor, for me, at least in my experience, I spend time with my mentor to build that trust and the channel of communication with them, so that I could, whenever I had an issue, whenever I had a breakdown, not on the business side, but also as a personal. And again, there's a lot of emotions when you're building companies, and I think that's the role of the mentor to help you navigate in that journey. And of course, if the mentor has gone through the same path and the same journey, that is extremely helpful because you relate in an empathic way to the entrepreneur, and so this has been very helpful for me in tough moments. And that's what I would like to help entrepreneurs to avoid getting into close to the cliff when they're like, okay, I burn out. How to prevent that.
Beautiful perspective. I think it's nice that you underline the importance of mentorship in helping the startup, the founder, the mentee grow professionally, but of course also personally. So thank you for that. Which actually brings, you already alluded, both of you, to that a little bit. I want to go a bit more into practical tips, really how how you go into an efficient mentorship relationship. So you explained, what you see yourself bringing to the mentor. Can one of you comment on, in your view, however, what a mentor should not be doing?
Yes. It's not an instructor. It's not telling you what to do. It's someone that can give you guidance. They know the challenges you're facing. They know your vision. They know where you want to be. But they're not your instructor sitting next to you telling you do this, and afterwards you do that, and then you do this, and then you do that. They really just give you a direction. And you might have more than one mentor. So you might have another one that gives you a slightly different direction. You have to take the decision. It's your company. You're the entrepreneur. But if you find mentors that are aligned with your vision, you will get the right guidance to help you get there. Mm-hmm. It's also not a therapist that you go to. You touched on, it's also a personal journey. And I think there's a lot of advice that can be there, but the mentor is also not the therapist that you go to tell them everything that goes through. You go to them because you want guidance. Mm-hmm. And I think that's also something to keep in mind. Yeah.
Yes. So they are a good soundboard, but not as in, letting out all your frustrations and not.
Well, if you have frustrations, make them aware of it. Yeah. Yes. But be constructive. Tell them why this is blocking you, and then only then can they provide guidance. Yeah.
Yeah. And also as a mentor, when you give advice, I said, this is my advice. It's my personal advice with my bias and experience. So don't take for granted what I say. Yeah. That's why is about giving thoughts and input to think about. It's like a coach, but a coach plus industry experience. That the coach never tells you what you have to do, right? Yeah. I had my first coach 2 weeks ago, my first coach session, and I think it was great. It just gives you topics to think about. And I think the mentor should provide guidance. So actual things that you can do and help you in the decision making, but also opening your mind to what possibilities there could be, knowing that you as a mentor, you have your own bias, and the mentee should know that, and you should be clear on that. Mm-hmm. That's why it's good to have multiple people that can give multiple advice, and then the entrepreneur will collect that information and will make their own decision.
Allow me to pick on this. Could you elaborate a bit on, you mentioned you had your first coach session. So I'm curious to see, in your view, how is a mentor different from a coach?
So I would say you have the advisor,
yes,
the mentor, and the coach. So the coach is really business independent. It's really on your personal development, and of course, and then you have a therapist. Okay, so let's advisor, mentor, coach, and therapist. Let's not talk about the therapist. But so the coach will make you think about what's important for you in your life, professional, but not only. And so it would touch those elements. It would not give you necessarily things to do or direction to take, but question to think about. And you will find your own answer. Mm-hmm. Okay, the mentor adds a layer, I think, on top, which is coming from the experience of that specific business or industry, and it's in between the two. And then the advisor, which I think it's I think the advisors in 10 years, honestly, would be AI. Because what's the point? I mean, unless the advisor, right? Yeah. The expertise, honestly, even, you use ChatGPT or a similar system, and you see how it can be in 10 years, you could imagine that all that industry expertise will come from AI. So then what is the point? The mentor is actually the human perspective, yes, right? It is experience, the human perspective, the connections that can open up for you to help you navigating turbulent waters when you're like an entrepreneur.
So startup of the futures, think you might have an AI advisor, but look for the human being to be your mentor. Thank you. practically, how would you describe efficient mentorship? And I mean, how would you see the ideal way of working with a mentee?
That you have a regular touch point,
yes,
and that you agree to have that meetings. It can be online. You don't have to meet physically often, because that's a time commitment people cannot always do, from the entrepreneurs or from the mentor. But yeah, and use that time to share everything about your vision and the challenges, and also indicate where it is that you seek advice and guidance, because they also need to know where to focus, because otherwise it can be a very big exercise then to mentor someone, because there's so many aspects to discuss. So also discuss largely enough so that you're aligned on the vision, and that you are open about the challenges that the company has and that you have. But also choose the ones that you actually want guidance on.
So does this mean typically for one of your update or regular meetings, let's say, pick one topic, like a specific challenge that they want to discuss? Or
I wouldn't make it so formal, because I think it's good to have, there might be things that come in the discussion as well. But just in general, is it on the business plan? Is it on how do I partner? Is it on, I'm not good at networking. Can you help me there?
Yes.
There should be certain angles that you say, okay, this is where the mentor can help me.
And do you have any view on frequency of such meetings, for instance?
Probably once a month. And then, if there are urgent things,
ad hoc.
Pick up the phone.
Yes.
Give me a call, sometimes that happened to me. I had some issues with board meeting and situation, and then you're able to call the person. I mean, that time it was chairman. I said, listen, I'm having this problem. How can I, and you have that quick conversation that can say, okay, I know how to deal with that.
That's important, because in a startup, the problems, they come overnight. They can disappear overnight, but they can come overnight, and it's good to have that flexibility.
And then you have to address them fast.
If you have a sticky point, you want it solved.
Yes.
And maybe also defining some goals. You said, okay, well, I have this challenge, and then you say, okay, well, do we agree? You exchange on the topic. Okay, do you agree that let's do this? Why don't you try to do this? Do we agree? And then the entrepreneurs goes after that. And then the next meeting, you say, oh, by the way, I did this. I found this difficulty. I was able to, basically measure, you take an action, you measure it, and then you discuss about it, and you steer, or you said, okay, this is problem solved.
So also
setting
follow up
those
and
goals.
report back a bit on what
without
actions were taken.
It's not an exercise. It's not something. It's not like a professor that you need to report but you want to have some goals, something you can do, you can act upon, and something that you can measure and report and discuss and clear out of. And then the next challenge might be, okay, what's next?
Yes, challenges I think will never be missing in these conversations.
Oh, no.
What qualities do you think you should be looking for in a mentor? And I mean both, human qualities, but also what type of expertise? That is very dependent of your company and the stage of your company, I guess. But do you have views on this?
I would say having entrepreneurial experience, it would be definitely helpful, at least navigating certain aspects. Then there is the industry expertise, of course. But I would say it's so important, the human side. Again, human in business. So establishing that relationship with the mentor in terms of communication, honesty and transparency. If I'm your mentor, don't hide things. Just tell me. You can tell me. Everything is like everything that happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. The same with a mentor. You can be transparent about your problems, and it will stay with me. It will not leak out. So I think once you build that relationship, it has to be two ways. then is the starting point. For me, if there's no such a thing, it doesn't work. I will never mentor someone that I feel there's something that is being kept without reason,
Has this happened that you would, not enter or stop a mentoring relationship because it just didn't click? This can happen as well.
Yeah.
It's a matter of personality. I think
Sure.
not only, that they would not trust you, but maybe you're just not so compatible.
Yeah, and yes, it happened. And sometimes it's not about, I'm not advisor is different. So advisor, you might look at the company. Okay, I like this company. And
Yes.
mentor is more the person. And the business, of course, but it's more the person. So yes, it happened that there was no click, and it just didn't follow.
No, I think those are two important things: the trust, mutual trust, and also the alignment on the vision. You want them to care about what you're trying to achieve with your company. And you might have several mentors, and it might be that some are more important for certain phases. So it might also be, while there's a trust and you get along, you might use them less and less as you
grow,
move forward and you grow.
Yes.
So that might also be an organic thing. Yeah. And then you might make use of another mentor more with a different package. Yeah.
Sure. So that's what you should be looking for. Now, you're a young entrepreneur, you're facing all these challenges, you want to find money, you want to overcome regulatory hurdle, you're not fully aware of how your product fits in the market. How do you find the right mentor practically? How do you seek out a mentor? Where should you look for? Any practical tips there? What can you do?
I think accelerator or incubator programs like Biotope are a great place to find those mentors, because you pick people, you build the network of mentors, and that is also a good place to go. Online communities on LinkedIn or whatever, but online communities, or even membership communities of startups, networks that you can join, not necessarily incubator, accelerator, but more like communities, membership communities that you could join, events that you could go, conferences. Yes, so those are some of the places where you could find a mentor, and sometimes you just appreciate someone, and you just drop a very, very very honest and from your heart email to say, listen, I'm extremely impressed about what you do. I'd love to have a chat. Maybe I can be your mentee. Would you be? So that can happen. And you could, if you can shoot really high, and you could be surprised how people in very high position might be touched by your,
reaching out.
You're reaching out in a very genuine way.
I think that says it all. Yeah.
Very nice. Thank you. I fear we are coming towards the end of this conversation. So I think we discussed, a few different aspects and perspective on this mentorship. So what I would take away as home messages is really, seek a good mentor. There are many different ways to approach this. Tap in different ecosystems. So use your network, really try, and don't be shy to reach out to the people. Keep in mind, as the mentee, you want to really build this two-way relationship with your mentor, and think of, they can help you grow your company, help you grow personally and professionally. But don't think that they will tell you what to do. Is more or less what I'm taking from your, what mentors don't do message. They will not make decisions for your company. You remain in the driver's seat there, and then welcome their perspective, but also take it with a grain of salt. And importantly, build this two-way relationship, but also align expectations on both sides, I guess. Do you have any final thought, a reflection, something you really want to stress, emphasize, add that we have not touched upon?
No, just do it, and make sure you have the discussion with them about what is expected from them from being a mentor, so that you know a bit what amount of their time you're entitled to, and do it. Reach out, like you said, and find some mentors.
Reach out. Any interest? Happy to hear more about the person and the entrepreneur journey. So.
Thank you so much to both of you for sharing very valuable insights and your expertise. I would like to still quote American Senator John Crosby. So he said, mentoring is a brain to pick, an ear to listen, and to push in the right direction. So I think you have nicely illustrated how this is still true for young entrepreneurs nowadays. So this can apply in many different environments. So thank you both again. To our listeners, hopefully we gave you some insights and some tips. Please do explore mentorship opportunities in your ecosystem, whether it's via an incubator program, but there are many different ways to approach this. So picking up back on what you said early on, be creative. That is true in all aspects of your startup journey. And with that, thank you for tuning in for this conversation with Aurélie and Giacomo today. Keep an eye out for our next episode. We will have 2 new guests, fresh and inspiring perspectives on startup life. If you want to stay up to date with Biotope's activities, make sure to follow our LinkedIn, visit our website. And if you have feedback on what we have discussed today or suggestions for new topic or guests, please feel free to reach out or leave us a comment. Thanks again for joining, and until next time.
Thank you.
Thank you.